Hey there, ho there. This is Nuts and Bolts, where we take a look behind the scenes of Anime Abandon. And whoo, boy, do we have a doozy for you. It's the episode that people either love or love to hate. It is Violence Jack. And man, the stories behind this one. And I think the very first story is actually the very first scene here. And that is this wonderful bit that Lachlan Huddy made for me and Mark. And actually, he made this bit how many months ago before the review?
It had to have been like 6 to 8 months ago that we were giggling to ourselves. Like, we don't know what Violence Jack is yet, but we want this to be in it.
And he was actually a real good sport about it because we gave him very vague instructions. We gave him a script and said, "Can you record this and kind of shoot this like a Ken Burns documentary?" Because first of all, I wasn't even sure if Ken Burns was even a thing in Australia, but apparently he got the gist right quick, and he gave this incredibly more than you can ever expect from someone performance and video. I mean, look at he even got an axe prop and a replica 19th century axe. Look at that.
To which the only thing he managed to say when it was all done and put together was, "Where did you find this? This is the single saddest version of Waltzing Matilda I've ever heard."
I didn't even know if that was Waltzing Matilda when I heard it.
Sadly, we didn't get to go through the whole song, but yeah, it is the saddest version of Waltzing Matilda.
And first off, I didn't even know that song could be sad. I mean, imagine trying to make, I don't know, Crocodile Rock sad. You can't.
But we accomplished it.
But that's the important thing. We have accomplished it. But this review, or unreview, as the internet has taken to calling it, has been off and on for the better part of the entire year because I knew that I hyped Violence Jack ever since basically Angel Cop. And at the time, I thought, how am I going to talk about it? I know it's pretty violent, but maybe if I just watch it enough times, maybe I can get some, I don't know what to say, like some angle that I missed the first time around. But the more I watched the anime, the more I realized that I can't talk about it. And, well, people say that people expect the review to come out and be something like Urotsuki Doji because it's porn and I was able to review it. But the problem with comparing it with the Urotsuki Doji was that Urotsuki Doji didn't show penetration. It was nudity and dick tentacles. But you could get away with showing the scenes if you censored the naughty bits. This, on the other hand, was by far and away more graphic. There's not enough censor Kaisers to go around. So there's like these entire sections of the anime that I can't show, and I can't expressly convey how shocking, I shouldn't say shocking, but just how grotesque the anime is. So the way I figured the best way to talk about it was to not talk about it, as it were.
And it went through varying phases. At first, it was going to be a straight horror film, and then it was going to be kind of a joke. We thought about playing it straight, and ultimately, through a lot of batting back and forth, we came up with this idea of doing a thriller. You know, because the whole question was, you know, like, well, if Bennett's perceived as the devil across the Reviewniverse, then why don't we make this kind of short film about, you know, if the devil stares into the void, does he blink?
And I actually, the best angle that we put onto this review is that we had so many ideas of how to make it into a thriller that we kind of wound up going with all versions, every version of it. We kind of pulled an adaptation, as it were, where it's about the creative process behind the end product is the end product. And this was an early stage of how the review was going to wind up. I believe at one early stage, I was going to pull like a Colonel Kurtz, and I was going to seclude myself somewhere out in the wilderness. And one of my friends,
what was it? The Apocalypse Now version, where you wanted to get like Brad or Spoonie
to find me. And I wanted to have like there would be like these great comedic bits where it's just Spoonie trying to get through the forage around the area, and he's and he's awkward because let's face it, he's a nerd who stays at home 24/7. So he's just doing God, there's a bramble branch in my underwear. But he gets to me, and I'm just doing my whole best Marlon Brando. I have found on mission. No longer classified, is it? Are you a reviewer? I'm a critic. You are neither. You're a clown on the internet. And wanted to riff on that subject. But that wound up not happening. I think it was a little too ambitious for what we can do. Heck, flying you out to San Francisco, the San Francisco area, what looked like it was out of reach, but luckily my brother came through. So kind of a quiet applause for my brother.
For your secret producer.
For my secret producer, yes, quiet applause. Yes, golf clap. And actually, this scene right here was probably the hardest to review because the footage you shot didn't line up exactly with the footage I had in mind. So I kind of had to work with what I had. And I think it worked, but, making the best out of a situation that presents itself, I suppose, is the right phrase. And honestly, this part was actually really fun to watch. They were fun to shoot, rather.
It was not fun to set up. It was not fun putting a condom filled with fake blood inside a baby doll with some duct tape.
It was certainly fun to film. We actually have some. Oh God, look at that! That is such a great reveal. You can't see the blood on the baby until I stop clutching it. We could not have planned that better. But we actually, the night before the shoot, I think it was, the night before this shoot, I got this doll, and he got this magnum-sized condom and filled it with fake blood. Because the condom would be strong enough. I didn't think it would be strong enough, but it wound up being strong enough to hold at least a pint of fake blood. God, look at me. And then this sudden and abrupt change to, hey, I'm normal. It was your idea, actually, to make my hair wet, because it made my hair and thus me look more manic.
Yeah, like sweaty. And the swinging light was just like a last minute, like, oh yeah, let's just do the swinging, alone psycho in a cell shot.
I can't help but whenever I'm looking at your room, my eye is immediately drawn to your Kimahri statue in the background and your Halo helmet. Who knew that Final Fantasy X and Halo crossed over so well in one place? Everyone was commenting on the Halo helmet, or at least one guy was, but everyone missed the Kimahri statue, didn't they?
They missed the Kimahri statue. They missed the RC, the Transformers Prime RC that's sitting on the shelf, the Sandman bookend.
Oh God! Everyone thinks you're a bro douche. Now you're just a complicated bro douche.
Great.
I mean, how many Marvel trades do you have right there on your shelf right there?
Roughly 8. And then like copies of 52 and a D&D 3.5 player's guide. So.
Oh shit! You're bringing me back, son. That was my game back when I was 12, 13. Actually, this is actually probably the best chance to really talk about our nerd rooms, as it were, because if you can plainly see, that's the set. That is the Anime Abandoned set right there. You can see my baseball bat. You could probably see my base in the back there. You definitely see the Suave robe. But behind the Suave robe is actually my collection of old gaming magazines and comic and trades that I've collected over the years. I simply do not have enough room in my room to properly house and display all the nerd stuff that I've collected over the years. As you, being in my room, can properly attest to that.
Yeah, we've talked about, like, what are we going to do when we both move and we got to reset a set? I'm like, shit. The one thing I do want to kind of talk about is this is the first Anime Abandoned that was not shot on spinning disk drive. It was shot on flash media. And for some reason, it's not true HD anymore. It's 1440. What is it? It's 1440 by 720.
No, it's 1440 by 1280, which is not true 1080p. It's because, all right, we're going to get into technical terms here because this is during the vlog segment where I'm essentially talking over myself talking. But 1920 by 1080 is the native resolution for 1080p. Now, by technicality, the fact that it's still 1080 in width is what? No, was it in? No, it's in height. And anyway, the still in 1080 in height, that means you could call it 1080p, but it's not the native resolution of 1080p. It's missing about.
I think you said like 520 pixels,
No,
something like that.
no, 480 pixels. 480 pixels. So it's missing about 480 pixels of resolution. So it's the reason why it does that is because it cuts down on the bit rate. And even though these cards can hold about as much information on a purely like scale form as the internal hard disks on our cameras, for some reason it cannot handle a higher bit rate than 5.5 megabits per second, I want to say.
Which
Offhand.
it was 12, but we didn't have enough
12.
time to figure it out, and I was really worried about what the footage was going to look like transferring from disk drive media to flash media, but I would argue that it looks smoother.
I wouldn't say it looks smoother because what we're filming isn't very complicated. If we were on, like, say, a moving platform, or if we were trying to film something that was in constant motion, you'd want a higher bit rate. Otherwise, you're going to get motion blur. You're going to get not as crisp an image. And if you look closely at the lower right-hand corner, you can realize, hey, what's the read or die box doing at the bottom right-hand corner in the shelf instead of in the box as it's shown later in the video?
That's not a continuity error. This is in Sage's mind. That's the explanation.
I love poking continuity errors in my own videos. Kind of, it just kind of fills me with joy. I don't know why it does that. Maybe it's like my own way of making sure that I keep that shit in check in future productions. And all right, while during the filming of this, it was very stressful, but having produced it, having gone through the editing process, I would certainly try to do something along these lines again because I love the end product so much, and I don't think I'm full of myself by saying that.
Which we managed to go so far as to be like, look, here's our gag ending. We know we're kind of bullshit. We recognize that it's half an hour of us just saying no, it's just not going to happen.
Well, I figured that the storyline of this video is essentially the character, or at least the. All right, I'll put it in as simplest terms as I possibly can. The Sage character with the hat on in the chair talking about anime is basically a sad sack critic who's constantly getting shit on by the people around him. With the hat off, he's the actor portraying the character. He's basically me, but just a like a hyper realistic me. He doesn't like I, for one, never actually got myself into a drunken stupor because I couldn't figure out how to do Violence Jack, because that wouldn't exactly make for an entertaining video. And this right here is where I think I knew this was going to be a good video. Your performance right here was legitimately intense and legitimately scary.
I feel bad, honestly. It's weird because it kind of gets people on side that I'm a character in the Bennyverse now. That I'm the character that just kind of comes in and yells at you. So everybody's like, "Oh, poor Sage." But I felt like I watched this footage and I just feel bad because I'm not when I'm performing, I'm not really there anymore. You know, like it's just like, okay, do the job and then worry about what you did after. Um, and I go back and I watch the footage all cut together and I'm just like, I'm mean. I feel so bad.
And I think that the original line in here, or at least the action in the script, was that I throw the tape against the wall. But I figured that it would be more effective if it was a far more impotent display of frustration than like actually lashing out. It's just all he could do, all this guy could do, all this Sage can do is just let out like a scream and not knowing what to do with himself and being basically strong-armed by himself, essentially, after being bullied by Mark into continuing with the review when he says he just doesn't want to. This also had I guess, a cut line, as it were. I was supposed to say shit in response to this, like what you're hearing. You never. The whole idea behind Violence Jack the review was that you never, ever see any of the footage of Violence Jack, and that chafed some people reading the comments.
Because originally there was supposed to be like flash frames of Violence Jack to kind of show the unraveling of the character's brain, but then last minute, well, not really last minute, like a month in advance, we decided like no, there shouldn't be a single frame of Violence Jack anywhere in here.
And I guess, some people who pointed out in the comments saying that, if you're trying to get people from not seeing it, well, all this review is going to do is just get people interested in seeing it, which is fine by me. I don't think that was ever the point of this video. It was trying to portray a sort of arc, as it were, as personal growth of accepting responsibility, as it were.
Yeah, because last year's message was, don't worry about what other people are doing, say what you want to say. And then this year's message is, just because you're on the internet doesn't mean you can't have standards.
I think there's that, certainly, but there's also, say what you want to say, but don't feel pressured to say what you don't want to say. And this was also very, very fun to shoot. The camera that I use, it's just a standard Vixia camera. It's not very fancy. It just does what it does, and it does it well. But when you can get the right angle and you can get the right depth of vision, the camera can pick up an incredible amount of focus. And that's certainly true with some of the shots of Mark. Unfortunately, you have to get really close to see like the skin. You can actually see Mark's skin tone just reflecting a bit of the light, if the shot's coming up pretty soon here. And helped immensely by the fact that we just got the right angle. So, see right there, you can see the actual indentations of Mark's face. And I just love the detail that the camera can pick up if you're lucky and you sacrifice the right goat on the right day.
We also kept moving the light source around. Like, the light source was dictated by the camera and not by wherever it is that we were putting the light source, because since this was supposed to be a dream sequence, we were trying to make it look kind of abstract. So we're like, well, screw it, then let's just do the things that you see in dreams. Like, you don't really see whole images, you don't see whole faces.
It's sort of this, you don't get the complete picture. And before this review goes on too far, a big shout out to my friend Gabe, who did my makeup. I think he did 3 reapplications of my makeup throughout.
Yeah, and he was absolutely like, no, sit still. This is going to take as long as it takes. I don't care.
And he was like unmerciful with the eyeliner, because I've never worn eyeliner in my life. And if you've never worn eyeliner, it's actually fucking scary. Especially if somebody else is doing it. What they're doing is taking a very sharp pencil and putting it really fucking close to your eye. I don't know how anyone could wear eyeliner for any other occasion other than acting. Like, people who routinely wear the pencil eyeliner as if they're everyday makeup. You just have to look at them and saying, do you just hate your eyes? Do you just hate yourself? Well, that was kind of a gift. And that was your idea on set, that we had this one flash of real light hitting your eye and your glasses to reflect a sort of kind of menacing gaze. Yeah. And actually, if you look back in that pile of garbage, as it were, that's a lot of extras from the shot. There's props.
My backpack.
your sleeping bag. I think that's one of your vacuum seal bags in the bottom.
Yeah.
Well, since this is supposed to be my dream space, it's supposed to be very cluttered and claustrophobic. And I love this punch sound effect. I love the galloping music that builds this scene. Oh, look, my tripod up in the left-hand corner.
Mm.
But anyway, I loved how this scene came out. I hate tooting my own horn because I never ever get this excited about my work.
But
I
then
just do what
again,
I
we never do anything this complicated. Like End of Evangelion wasn't this complicated for damn sure.
no. And that disorienting shot leading into this call into this cell phone conversation, I felt was this perfect juxtaposition. Like I also, as you could tell, that we played around with the lights on set. Normally, the light in my bathroom would be very orange, but we used blue gels on not only during the dream sequence, but during this scene here to give a more sterile, more broken shot. And if you look very closely in the mirror, you see that my hair had grown gray. But that was sort of a last minute addition for certain scenes. Like Mark had this sudden idea just to make my hair gray by throwing some cornstarch in my hair to kind of gray it up. And that certainly made my hair look gray, but it also kind of led to a continuity problem because sometimes my hair is gray, sometimes it's not.
Yeah, but I always kind of think about these shots like, well, it's the splitting of consciousness. Like we never really establish when are you conscious, when are you in this waking dream, when are, like when are
Like,
you absolutely asleep, other than the blue dream sequence.
and this entire conversation is essentially a conversation with myself. And I think early in the script writing purposes, we wanted to represent the idea that the people in my life, the two most important people of my life, according to Anime Abandon, Gabe and you, would be variations on two conflicting ideas in my head. You, Mark, being the, like, you have to fucking do this, you little shit, you're nothing otherwise kind of part of the character, and Gabe, the sort of well meaning but hapless dude who tries to live life, but is, like I said, is kind of hapless and but well-meaning. So, but having both be like one being a dream sequence and one being a hallucination, I'm essentially the good winds up winning, of course, or at least as good as Gabe represents. Winds up winning because just tries to talk him down and talk sense to me.
You look so fucking haggard.
I know. While I was editing this, my dad was a trooper through all of this. He not like, all right, in the full interest of full disclosure, my car had gotten dented again. So, we took it in and my dad had to rent another car to pick you up from the airport. So I couldn't pick you up at the airport because the rental car was under his name, so only he could drive it under the insurance. So he had to pick you up. He volunteered to get food whenever we needed it during these long shots, these long takes. And the first day was hard on all of us, but I don't think it was any harder than on Gabe. Gabe just was always, waiting for his scene. He was helping with the sound and the light, and he was patient and he was always willing to help through all of it. So another no, let's not make it a quiet applause. Let's have a good applause for Gabe right here. He was.
Look, I already gave Gabe his applause on the day. He's not getting any more than that.
Oh, come on. Have a heart. Have a fucking
I gave him
heart.
a hug. I told him he did a great job.
He not only did he a great job, but he was the third set of hands that we needed to make this work. I mean, while Mark was off, Mark is off camera right here, and he's going through the script, making sure that we're both on the lines. And after this entire long day of shooting, Gabe really had a tough time memorizing lines, and I don't blame him. And he was frustrated with himself,
He
but
hadn't slept for any more than like 2 hours.
He hadn't slept for any 2 hours, and this was like 12, maybe 13 hours after we woke up. We spent at least 8 hours shooting the entire dream sequence. So for anyone who is saying that, oh God, this is such a lazy video or something, like, why don't you just do the reviews? Like, we took the hardest fucking route we could to essentially say that we're not going to review it, but all in the interest of saying why we're not going to review it in the I hope, the most compelling way possible. Honestly, even though you could sum up this entire video with me just getting in my front of my camera saying, I'm not going to review this because blank, 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 blank. Or I could say what I wanted to say with more impact and hopefully with more creative effort.
But the fact is that there's roughly 36 episodes of Anime Abandoned a year.
Roughly, at least with this new schedule that we're on.
So what's the harm in having one storyline episode where it's like, okay, well, if this character's going to hang around for a while, he's got to take some lumps.
And I think that's what separates the Sage character from, like, say, everyone, because with Doug, the critic, all of a sudden is the universe. It's like these big, big fucking ideas, cosmic bending ideas. Same thing with Lewis. Same thing with Noah. But when I try to do storylines, I've tried to keep it as personal and as, I guess, introspective as I can possibly make it.
Here's something that was an accident. That shot where you realize that there's nobody there. Before, Gabe is backlit, so it's very bright behind him. But when he's gone, there's no light. And that was totally an accident, but I really like it.
I've tried to keep these sort of storyline videos to about the character and about, like, his relationship with his work, and that has, this sort of navel gazing plot can be construed as pretentious and can be self-serving, and I'll fully admit that there are elements to it. Like, you would have to be either very familiar with the work. And by the way, that joke about, yeah, I'm at home, made on set.
Love that joke.
Me too. Right now in this shot, Mark is across the street filming me from the side, but unfortunately the footage wound up being way too shaky. I couldn't really use it. Unfortunately, Mark couldn't keep the camera steady enough as he was walking. Nobody could with the
because we were in this affluent neighborhood where I'm like, where I come from, a place where it's like the cops will just beat you to death and be like, where's your film permit? So you show me a place where there's money and I'm like, man.
Yeah, this is actually kind of like the back neighborhood of my house, or my apartment rather. And I was showing Mark around because, he's from Philadelphia, so showing him a place with trees is like showing Zach Ferngully. Oh, Akiro's tapestry in your background. Nice touch.
$5 I got that for.
Anyway, back to the addressing pretentiousness. I'll fully admit that it can be construed as pretentiousness, but I think that what I hope separates it from being pretentious or being misconstrued as pretentious is that there is something earnest and sincere through every episode. It's like, I'm not trying to say that I'm not trying to say that the Sage character is is life encompassing, or he's going to save the day. It's about a guy with his problems trying to solve it the best way he can with the people around him. And this will be the last time we will ever shoot with a clock in the background. You'll soon see why. Wait, it was 1:17 before. What? It's 1:19 now?
I already figured out how to get around that problem without getting rid of the clock, but never mind. Bring attention to the clock. Why not?
Like, I like pointing out my own flaws in my videos.
Nearly broke my phone there.
Oh God, I look so fucked up. Throughout the filming, I never even really knew what I looked like. And by the way, it was Mark here who suggested this take. And I hear that it's actually the take of the entire video.
I've been told it's been making people cry. It kind of made me tear up a little bit because I didn't see it in post until I got to watch the whole thing. So I was like, oh, wow, that's powerful.
You know what it is? It's the music. The music makes the video, and unfortunately, it's not original music. I mean, you have to give it to Gustavo Santaolalla, I believe is how you pronounce his name. The music you hear, about 5/6 of it is the Last of Us soundtrack. And here it is, our little nod to, yeah, we at the end of the day we're just some douches with cameras, so let's make fun of what we do and just just a little kind of letter to say thank you for indulging us for the past 30 minutes.
Yes, we know we're bullshit. We know that this was all very like, we're so important, but look, we can drop the pretense and just be like, look, we can do this too.
It's like we're earnest, but we're also aware of what we are. We're not trying to pretend that what we're doing is brave and and like life changing. We're trying to make the best story we possibly can with whatever effects and technology we have. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't take ourselves too seriously.
And nothing validates this more than Brett being in the video.
And, or Kyle or anyone. Everyone who filmed this deserves a special thank you, and unfortunately they were not in the credits, much to my chagrin. And everyone here, whether they know it or not, had a hand in making what Anime Abandon what it is today. Kaylin, Bill, Kyle, Jessica, Brett, Scott especially.
Josh, Scott.
Josh and Scott. And oh god, I don't know what happened here, but it makes me smile every
She
time.
bumped into a
see
table. Like that's and Brett just kept it.
See you all. Thanks for watching.